the story of the Dragon Balls, the history of the Dragon Balls, like each set of them that I know of, as told by their Green Angels. So starting with the first Dragon Balls shown in like the series, which was way back in old Dragon Ball, Kami's Dragon Ball. Now Kami came from another world. Namek, he was left. He waited for people. They didn't show up. He waited in a place called Yamzabit for like years, and then he left when he realized that there was nobody coming from. He met with the Guardian of Earth, and the Guardian was like, you don't want the job for the right reasons. You want the job to be the Guardian, but you want the job so you can like rule over people, and you can like dictate to them how they should live their lives, and you basically want to like rule the world. You have to dismiss those type of desires from you, because the Guardian's supposed to look out for and like prevent things that could destroy the world. That type of thing, that type of intervention, but it ain't about ruling over everything. Kami had to dispatch of that side of himself. After he did that, he was pure of heart and he was Kami. He created the Dragon Balls. It was something in him that reminded him of his home world, and he was like, this is something I have to do for the human beings, and it would make me a better guardian too. I'll take note from afar of what people do with them. But then these Dragon Balls were told in like legends for like human beings for like a long time. When you collect all 7 Dragon Balls, you get one wish from the dragon. Bulma, he calls these fucking stories and shit, and she was like, I want to find the Dragon Balls. She got on an adventure with Goku after she found Goku with the 4-star Dragon Ball. He said, that's my grandfather. He left it as momentum for me. And she was like, no, that's actually a Dragon Ball. It's a legendary wish orb. And we have to find the other 6. And then he was like, you know what? You ain't that bad. It took a little bit, but, they started working together to find the other Dragon Balls. But at the same time, there was a guy named Pilaf looking for these Dragon Balls. He wanted to become the ruler of the world and have people, he calls to him at all times, bow to his, rule as king. They found the Dragon Balls, but then Pilaf took them. They were locked in Pilaf's tower, but in Pilaf's tower, there was like a... goddamn. You could basically see outside, all right? There was a window. And Goku looked up, and it happened to be a full moon. So he went into the Ozaro state, and he destroyed everything. Boom, boom, boom. He destroyed everything. They cut his tail off, and then Oolong made a wish for underwear, just so the Dragon Balls wouldn't be used by Pilaf, so he could, become the ruler of the world. After that, the Dragon Balls went on their way, and every year they need a year to recharge. So then they went after the Dragon Balls again. The Red Ribbon Army was after them. Colonel Silver, General White, General Blue, or Commander Blue, and Mercenary Tao, all these people that fucking Goku fought in the Red Ribbon Army. And, Commander Red, all these fuckers, played games. And they wanted the Dragon Balls for themselves so they could rule over the world too. Eventually they did get all the Dragon Balls. They were missing one. They went to Baba. Baba could tell them where the Dragon Ball was going to be. And she found it. They obtained all 7, kept them aside. Now, after the World Martial Arts Tournament against Tien Shinhan and shit, right, Krillin had died. So then Goku went to fight Tambourine and all of them, right? Goku was defeated by King Piccolo. Roshi tried to, hold down, with the evil containment wave. Piccolo ended up using the Dragon Balls because he defeated Roshi, and he took the Dragon Balls and he wished for his youth back so he could be more powerful. Eventually, Piccolo was defeated, and the Dragon Balls were still around. See, Piccolo left a son on this planet that basically had his consciousness in it. He basically inherited his father's will. for real. Junior or Piccolo that we know today. They waited for the Dragon Balls to recharge right after they defeated Piccolo, and they brought back Tien, Chaozu, and Krillin, all three of them. But they could only be brought back one time. That was the stipulation on Kami's Dragon Balls. They could be only brought back once. They can't be brought back again because that goes against the natural law of shit. That plays into effect later on in Dragon Ball Z. But in Dragon Ball, Goku goes on to fight Piccolo. Now, this is what you got to learn too about this. The Dragon Balls are connected to their creator. So Kami didn't tell Goku, but Goku put two and two together, and he was like, you know what? If I kill my Junior or Piccolo, I'm also gonna kill you, which is then gonna, leave the Dragon Balls no more. We won't have the Dragon Balls anymore. And Kami was like, it's for the better. With him around, he's like pure evil. But Goku was like, nah, he's not like his father, and I want to keep him around because he'll be a good, person. And he ended up being correct, because in the next, part of Dragon Ball, which is Dragon Ball Z, the one that we all know about and love, you know, Raditz appeared on Earth, and they're still using Kami's Dragon Ball. Took Gohan, and then Gohan or Goku and Piccolo had to fight against Raditz, right? They killed Raditz, or Piccolo killed Raditz, and then he was like, I'll train Gohan. But anyways, they grabbed the Dragon Balls too. They collected all the Dragon Balls so they could wish Goku back, because he had died. They wished Goku back before the Saiyans, or right when the Saiyans got there. He was coming back to Earth. And they did that before Piccolo died, because then when Piccolo died, that's when Kami died too, and the Dragon Balls were gone. The Kami Dragon Balls were no more. That sent them on a quest for Namek, and that's when we found out about Kami's past and how he was a Namek, and he came from that planet on a ship. They, took some of that technology and created a spaceship, the Capsule Corp did, and they got to Namek. Now, on Namek, there was a new set of Dragon Balls, or, the first ones that, not the first ones, but ones that were used on Namek. These were the Namekian Dragon Balls. These things were, I would say, the size of a beach volleyball or a beach ball. You know how big they are, but like thicker and heavier. But these things, right, were created by a big green, Namekian guy named Guru. Guru populated the planet of Namek. Like all the children on that planet are his, came from him. Because Namekians, birth through like their own genes, kind of like a tree, a little bit. But he had one of the Dragon Balls. He had one, and then he had his 6 oldest sons, the elders of Namek. And he told him, he was like, you can't give this Dragon Ball away. You must protect this Dragon Ball. There will be people who come, like, because he knew about, Purunga, which is the name of the Namekian dragon, that the powers that he had, people would want to come and fuck with them. And that was what happened. See, Vegeta was already on his way to Namek, but Frieza made it there first. Frieza had already destroyed 4 villages, and then he was on to the 5th one, which was one that Dente, did that. Now, Dende is going to come into play later when I talk about another set of Dragon Balls, all right? But he had 4 of them. He got the 5th one off of, that guy. Vegeta also got his hands on a Dragon Ball. He destroyed that village, and he put it in the water. The Ginyu Force were guarding those 5 eventually, right? And then Guru gave the Dragon Ball to Krillin. And then, also gave him extra power, a Zenkai boost, and a Zenkai boost to Gohan. So then they were able to, get a power up before going against the Ginyu Force. The Ginyu Force ended up retrieving all 7 Dragon Balls. Vegeta tried to, get rid of them and other things, but then they got him back. Took him back to the ship. Goku fought against the Ginyu Force, defeated most of them, then switched bodies with Ginyu. Defeated the Ginyu Force, got them the fuck out of there. Now the Dragon Balls were going to be used while Vegeta was asleep because Vegeta wanted to become immortal just like Frieza did. And Vegeta at this time was not a good guy, but he was better than Frieza. You know, the better two evils was, Vegeta. Vegeta was, somewhat good. You know, they kind of like seen what Vegeta was, a little bit, and he was fighting with them by their side. So but they were gonna like say fuck that, we don't want him to be immortal either. We'll use these Dragon Balls. Three wishes could be granted, but now you need to speak in the Namekian tongue to summon Purunga. So that's what Dende did, and he summoned Purunga. And now at this time, Guru was old as fuck. He was cracked out. Um, he only had a few minutes left, so they got three wishes, right? But they only used two. The two they used was bring Piccolo back to life and then bring him to Namek. Not specific part on the planet, but brought him to Namek so then he could help fight against Frieza, and that's what they did. Now during the third wish, Purunga was, no more because Guru was no more. He had died. But now that Kami and Piccolo were back, the Earth Dragon Balls, Kami's Dragon Balls came back into existence on Earth. So then they had those Dragon Balls set ready. Now Goku fought against Frieza after everybody else got their ass whooped. Vegeta died and everybody else, he turned Super Saiyan after Krillin died. Now, knowing what Goku knew at that time, he was like, Krillin can't be brought back to life. It's no more. That fueled him into going to the iconic legendary Super Saiyan form, and he fought against Frieza and defeated him. But during this process, of him fighting against Frieza and everything, and they wished for the Namekians to come back to life. They came back to life. They wished Purunga. Purunga wished them to Earth, and then I think that's all they did. And then Goku fought Frieza on Namek. They brought back, those Z fighters who died to Frieza. After all that was said and done, Guru died, and the Namekians went back to Namek. They waited a year, and then they, got them a planet somewhere else. With Kami's Dragon Balls. Kami's Dragon Balls wouldn't be used ever again because after Cell came into the picture, the Android saga, we're getting to that point now in the story. The androids were fucking around, running around, right? Trunks was like, they are, a problem, in my timeline. They were the reason why Gohan died. So they knew that these people were a problem. They probably need the Dragon Balls, but they wanted the power. Or Piccolo did. So he's like, I've been fighting this merger for too long. We might as well merge together. But you're letting me have control of the body because I'm the one who's the warrior. And then Kami was like, that's fine. They became one, and the Dragon Balls weren't no more. They were gone. So after fighting Cell for a while, Piccolo lost to Cell after, he absorbed more people. Android 17 was absorbed, then, Tien did his thing. Vegeta and Trunks tried to do their thing, but, Vegeta was kind of prideful and everything else, right? And let him, get to his more evolved form because he was having, easy time. And the way the saying was, he's like, I want to fight you when you're maxed out. So there's no doubt that I'm better than you. But unfortunately, it worked against him. And Cell was in his perfect form. The Cell games were planned out, and they had 10 days to train. During these 10 days, Goku went to Namek and grabbed Dende. And now the third set of Dragon Balls, Dende's Dragon Balls came to be. Now, Dende's Dragon Balls were cool because he made them you can have 3 wishes, and you can bring people back to life. But you would have to wait, a whole year for the, Dragon Balls to come back. But you could store them. See, you use 1 wish, you wait 4 months for the other 2 wishes to come. Use 2 wishes, then you have to wait 8 months to use that other wish. Or you could use all of the 3 wishes and then wait a whole year for the Dragon Balls to recharge fully. And then you have 3 wishes. Dragon Balls were used again to bring back, Trunks. And then Android 18. Um, I think Android 17 was brought back to life, and then Android 18, the bomb in her chest. But that's when those Dragon Balls were used, and then the Boo Saga happened. Now, Goku wasn't brought back to life with the Dragon Balls. He had one-way ticket from Baba. See, Baba was able to bring back Goku's grandfather before, so he got brought back for a day. And those were the sanctions put on her powers. You know, she could only bring back a person for one day. And that's what happened in the Boo Saga. Vegeta, got power from Babidi, and he fought against Goku. And then they were all fighting against Majin Buu, Gohan and everybody else, That was powerful. Basically Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. But not all at the same time. Goku and Vegeta were fighting each other. Then Vegeta went to the battlefield after Gohan was disposed of. Gohan wasn't anywhere. He wasn't like he was during the Cell fight. He had to do other stuff. so so after that happened, he went to fight Majin Buu, and he ended up dying. He put everything out there for that attack. But it still wasn't enough. So Buu was still running around, and the Dragon Balls were not used yet. Dende was a priority. So after, a while, Super Buu emerged. And when Super Buu emerged, he started killing, he killed off most of the life on Earth. Before destroying the world, he started just picking people off, boom, 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 killing people all over the place. And he went to the lookout because he knew that's where the strong fighters were. Gotenks, he fought him in the hyperbolic time chamber. He actually screamed so loud that he broke through dimension barriers or whatever. Basically the barrier that keeps the hyperbolic time chamber, that space, away from the real world, and he basically blasted a hole so he could get back into the real world. And then that's what Gotenks did. He did the same thing, to get out of there. They found Majin Buu or Super Buu, and they fought him again. Boom, boom, boom. Gohan came back, and he was fighting. They all got absorbed eventually, and then Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta came back again too under Baba's, sanctions and shit. She can only bring him back for a day. They brought him back. He was cool on the fucking corner again, and they turned into Vegeta, Super Vegito, and they were actually, if they weren't playing games, they could have defeated him right then and there. But they were having too much fun. So after that happened, they prioritized Dende's safety because he did have the Dragon Balls. But they went and they got to another planet. It was Supreme Kai that did that for him. They went to Namek, though. They brought back Vegeta. Vegeta came back to life. Bring back the Earth. That was one of the wishes that Purunga was summoned to do. Bring back the Earth. And then bring back all the people that Vegeta killed. Bring back all the people that died because of Majin Buu. And he came back. Vegeta came back to life. Purunga then was, summoned, or, the last wish was used to, give Goku energy to defeat Majin Buu. Kid Buu was defeated, and then now it's the end of Dragon Ball Z. But then there was some more Dragon Ball. Of course, we can go into GT if you want to. Those set of Dragon Balls were the Black Star Dragon Balls. Pilaf grabbed him up, and he was like, hey, I want to turn this guy into a kid. That ain't even what he wanted to use him for, but he was old and cracked out. He didn't know what the fuck he was saying to the dragon. So he ended up turning Goku into a kid. The Dragon Balls were these set of Dragon Balls, because this is filler, or not filler, but it's canonical now. But depending on if you want to see it that way or not, because this is Dragon Ball GT. And this happens 10 years, well, actually a little bit more than that, after Dragon Ball Z. Or, yeah, probably 10 years after Dragon Ball Z, the last episode of Dragon Ball Z. But he had to go around the universe and collect these Dragon Balls. If he didn't get them back to Earth on time, the earth would explode. So then they grabbed the Dragon Balls, but guess what? Baby had infected the world. Baby was a parasite, a Tuffle parasite, and he was gonna get revenge on the Saiyans. So he took over the world and made them all like basically Tuffles. They all had his like influence inside of them. So they were like, yes, Lord Baby, Lord Baby. And then he wished to like create another planet. That's what they did. And then he destroyed those Dragon Balls. So that happened. Um, God damn, I'm trying to remember. After they defeated Baby, the world was gonna be destroyed because, like again, Baby fucked everything up for them. So they had to clear off Earth and like have them go to um, the Tuffle planet that was created by Baby. And then eventually the Earth was brought back again. I think it was with those Black Star Dragon Balls. And once that happened, ooh, the Shadow Dragon arc happened after they fought against, people who came from hell. Everybody who's there, Frieza, Cell, anybody who you could, think of basically. Besides Majin Buu, he wasn't there. And then Super 17, and that was a quick little, arc. But then the Shadow Dragons appeared. He had to fight against 7 dragons. Each dragon was one of the wishes that they used the Dragon Balls for in the past. The underwear, the fucking bringing people back to life, bring Goku back to life to fight against the Saiyans. Giving Goku the energy to fight against Majin Buu. Um, who, bringing everybody back who died from Buu. Bringing everybody back. All those wishes that they used beforehand. Each dragon was like, came from that, because like the Dragon Balls were only meant to be used really only every 100 years, because every 100 years that's when something um, very catastrophic can happen on the planet, to where like humanity is on the brink of like extinction, or it's like that type of thing. So that's what their purpose was for. But when Goku and Bulma, started using the Dragon Balls, it, made it to where the Dragon Balls were being used way more frequently, and that's not what they were supposed to intended to be used for. So then those dragons appeared, and he had to fight against all of them. He defeated most of them, and then Omega Shenron appeared. He absorbed all the Dragon Balls, the Black Star Dragon Balls, and he fought against Goku. Goku defeated him, and then the Dragon Balls went back to normal. Goku absorbed the Dragon Balls, and then, he went on to live, a life, away from his family. Because he was like, trouble always ends up finding me, and I love you guys, so I have to leave, so that people ain't finding my dick. And if they're finding my dick, they're finding you. So I'll just leave. And then he left, and, GT ended, But then there was Dragon Ball Super, and now Dragon Ball Super, there's a new set of Dragon Balls, right? God damn. So in Dragon Ball Super, these Dragon Balls came to be when some guy a long time ago called Zalama created these Dragon Balls. These were called the Super Dragon Balls. These are like, you could get any wish you want basically in the universe, because this is Super Shenron. And the only sanctions put on these Dragon Balls were that the creator of these Dragon Balls could not create, could not give wish that could, override Zeno's power, who's the one who can delete universes with a snap of his finger. They're not more powerful than he is. As long as that's the thing, that's cool. But these Dragon Balls are like as big as planets and shit, all right? So they fought for these Dragon Balls. Who fought for them? Beerus and Champa. They fought in a tournament. Universe 7 ended up winning, and I forget what they wished for. Something dumb, I think. Like food or some shit like that. Or I forget what they wished for, but I know what they wished for the second time they were used. The winner of the Tournament of Power would get the, wish from the Eternal, or the, Super Shenron. And after Super Set or Android 17 was in the last one in this ring, he wished for all of the 11 universes, or the goddamn, what? How many were there? 6. The other universes that were erased would come back. All 8 of them, I think, would come back. That were erased, and that was his wish. After that, Super Dragon Balls or whatever. Oh fuck! I almost forgot about Zamasu. Zamasu actually used the wishes too. He used it to wish for an immortal body, or actually, he wished for him and Goku to switch bodies first. He switched the bodies of Goku, and then he became Goku Black, and then he attacked Trunks' timeline. And that was 3 times that the Super Dragon Balls were used. And then, Zamasu also used them to become immortal, the other one. And then there was 2 Zamasus they had to fight in that timeline. But there's another set of Dragon Balls. There's actually 6 sets of Dragon Balls that I know. But, like, I ain't going to talk about the one from the manga, because I know a little bit, but I don't know that much. But I'll talk about this one, because this is Dragon Ball Daima. Daima, these Dragon Balls were created by a Namekian named Neva. He's from the demon. He lives in the demon realm, and he got separated from the other Namekians, kind of like Kami did. And he's old and cracked out, but he has 3 Dragon Balls. These 3 Dragon Balls can, you can make a wish for them. See, Goku and Vegeta and like everybody else became kids, so they were gonna wish for themselves to become adults again. That's what they did with these Dragon Balls. I forget what this dragon's name was. I forget, but I know the creator of these Dragon Balls was a Namekian named Neva, and he was like, cool, I'll give Goku the power to go Super Saiyan 4 so he can fight against Goma, who was trying to be the Demon King. Because the Demon King Dabura ruled over that land, and then like something happened to him when Babidi got a hold of his mind, and then he left that world, and then that left the Demon King seat vacant for a little bit, but then Goma tried to fill that spot. So after that, they were fighting against Goma, and then he became a adult again. Goku did. Goku became an adult. Vegeta became an adult. They maxed out. Vegeta went Super Saiyan 3. Goku went Super Saiyan 4, and they defeated Goma. And those Dragon Balls stayed in the demon world, with never watching over them. And basically, every single Dragon Ball set was created by the Namekians. And each Dragon Ball, and Zalama has a lot of hype around his name because basically this guy created the first set of Dragon Balls, which are the Super Dragon Balls. The ones that are like, you can wish for anything in the universe if you can find all 7 of them. And the only sanctions that were put on it was like they can't override the power of Zeno. So they were the most powerful ones, probably, and then there's something called Cerulean Dragon Balls, and I know there's 2 balls. I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I might as well. But these 2 Dragon Balls were created by some Namekian, and actually Bardock wished upon these Dragon Balls so that Goku would never lose, something along those lines. So like Goku kind of had extra plot armor on top of his plot armor. That's why Vegeta could never beat Goku. It's like made off of a wish that Bardock made, so Goku could never like lose or fail. He did that to like protect his son. But that came into play during the Granola arc, which we don't know when the fuck we're gonna see that. So like, you can take that last part with a grain of salt, though, that one. But that's a set of Dragon Balls. I know that there are 2 Dragon Balls, though. And then those were called the Cerulean Dragon Balls, I believe. So that was 6 sets of Dragon Balls. The history of the Dragon Balls is told by Darius Green Angel. But be cool, call in the corner, and let me know what you thought about this video in the comments.